My husband and sister-in-law tried to poison me, but I turned the tables and proved my strength. My name is Christina, and at 29 years old, I never imagined I would be questioning if my own husband was trying to poison me. But after 3 years of marriage, I had seen enough. The strange incidents, the food poisoning, and the odd way my sister-in-law, Nina, orchestrated situations that made me feel sick or humiliated. I had learned to be cautious, especially around her. The last straw came one fateful afternoon at a family brunch in Nina's elegant home in Nashville. My husband James handed me a coffee that smelled metallic and odd. It wasn't the first time I'd felt uneasy after meals with them, but something about this cup felt different. A few months ago, I'd ended up in urgent care after drinking tea at Nina's house, and doctors couldn't explain it. Yet Nina had assured me she made the tea exactly the same way she made her own. And now, this strange coffee. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I lifted the cup, pretending to sip, while my eyes studied their expressions. Nina, sitting across the table, watched me intently, stirring her own untouched coffee, her smirk never wavering. Something wasn't right. I needed answers. Feigning a need for a work call, I stood up and made a quick exit to Nina's study, accidentally switching our coffee cups on the way. My heart raced as I waited, watching them from the doorway as Nina lifted the coffee cup to her lips. Then, she froze. James stood up in a panic, his face pale as he realized Nina had drunk from my cup. "Nah, what's happening?" he asked, his voice trembling. I could see the panic in Nina's eyes as she clutched her stomach. Her body was racked with violent tremors, and she could barely speak, whispering between breaths, "This is all your fault. You promised it wouldn't be traced." The truth came out fast. This wasn't some random accident. It was all planned. They had been poisoning me, trying to sabotage my work and slow me down, specifically before the Henderson contract presentation. A deal I had been working on for months. They couldn't have it. I was in their way, and they were willing to go to extreme lengths to eliminate me from the equation. I quickly dialed 911. As I spoke to the dispatcher, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of calm, like I had finally seen the truth, and it was all unfolding right in front of me. The paramedics arrived and whisked Nina away. Meanwhile, James was left standing frozen in shock. As Nina was stabilized at the hospital, I made sure to send the video of her confession to my lawyer. By the time the detective arrived, I had everything I needed: texts, audio recordings, and all the evidence showing that Nina and James had tried to poison me multiple times over the past few months. They had carefully documented each poisoning attempt, trying to make it seem like mere accidents. They even stole substances from a pharmaceutical company. The investigation moved quickly. James and Nina were arrested, and the trial was a whirlwind. The evidence against them was overwhelming. Botched attempts to harm me, the poisonings, the stolen substances, it all pointed to one thing: attempted murder. When the verdict came down, I felt no satisfaction, just relief. They were both found guilty on multiple charges, including attempted murder and conspiracy. I could finally breathe. But the story didn't end there. 1 year later, I stood at the podium of the Nashville Business Leaders Conference, giving my keynote speech. This was exactly the kind of opportunity James and Nina had been so desperate to prevent me from getting. Their plan had backfired spectacularly. The Henderson account, which they'd tried to steal, had opened doors to even more clients. My career skyrocketed, and I was recognized as one of the top marketing executives in the region. "Success isn't just about talent or hard work," I said during my speech. "It's about integrity, about building relationships based on trust." I paused, letting the words sink in. Sometimes the biggest threats to our success come from those closest to us, but surviving those challenges makes us stronger. Later that evening, I received an email from the Henderson client confirming that they were renewing their contract for another 3 years. That email, along with my speech, symbolized how much I had grown in the face of adversity. A few weeks later, I was contacted by the Nashville paper. They had run a small article on James and Nina's prison sentences. I didn't read it. Instead, I focused on the proposal for my newest client. The best revenge, after all, wasn't about getting even. It was about moving forward, succeeding, and proving those who tried to hold me back that I was stronger than ever. The pain and fear I'd endured were behind me now, and I could finally live life on my own terms. My future was mine to create, and no one would ever take that from me again. New beginnings. By the time the trial concluded, my life had taken a full 180-degree turn. I had reclaimed my career, my integrity, and most importantly, my peace of mind. No longer was I afraid of the people who had once tried to tear me down. I was ready for everything life had to offer. One of the key lessons I learned was that when someone shows you who they truly are, believe them. And when you choose to stand firm, even when it seems like everything is stacked against you, you find strength you didn't even know you had. Now I run my own consulting firm, helping others who faced adversity in their careers. I teach them how to stand strong, how to trust themselves, and how to always take control of their own destiny. As for James and Nina, they'll serve their time for their crimes, but I've moved on. The past no longer defines me. And my future? It's limitless.